Make no mistake that people suffer silently. They don't know any help is available to some of their deeper issues, even with their spouse, with their family. They say that being married doesn't mean that you don't get lonely. Well, in that way as well, being with somebody doesn't mean you're actually with them. It doesn't mean you feel as though you can trust them. And people don't trust, not too easily. Not when they've been through enough experiences to become jaded and withdraw on themselves and fortify their defenses. And then they normalize themselves to a negative state of mind. And it just becomes their living reality. They adapt to it. For worse, they adapt to it. Think it's okay. They feel as if it's okay, but never quite actually feel right. But don't even really notice it because they're so used to it. They haven't felt otherwise. Or if they did, it was such a long time ago, they don't remember. They don't remember how they felt 30 years ago. Or 10 or 20 or 5 or 2. Because the feeling you have now is the feeling you have. It's the reality of now. In the current state. So they suffer silently. Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm okay. Oh, I'm doing well. This happened today, that happened today, I'm doing this tomorrow. All surface, all mask, all facade, every word of it. Ignoring the deeper reality. And why wouldn't they? Why would they want to talk about something uncomfortable, especially with somebody else, especially with a stranger? That means they have to explore it. That means they have to acknowledge it. Just to avoid all that hassle, they just say, yeah, I'm okay. And then they just continue with their life. Not allowing themselves to be vulnerable enough to take help from someone. There's a beautiful line, the song Nowhere Man by the Beatles, which is, leave it all till somebody else lends you a hand. No. Nobody feels as though they can really trust that others will be there. And it's true in a way, you have to be self-resilient, but others can be there. Others can help you. Others are also struggling and suffering in ways you can't imagine, just as you're suffering in ways they can't imagine. But sharing in that exchange, sharing the truth, the real truth, not that I did this today, I did that today, I'm feeling okay. Not that, but the real truth. Sharing of that can help to dissolve it, not just for you, but for the other. When I went to acting school, the teacher, we had a 4-hour class, and the teacher would spend the first 2 hours just asking us how we're doing. And it felt like a group therapy session. People would talk about all sorts of things, their family, their money, their housing, their roommate, how they're feeling about this, their parents. All sorts of things that you don't normally hear about. So I got exposed to these deep insides of people just because somebody asked about it and they felt safe to speak about it. Now, these are artists, they're actors, and in many cases, those people are more willing to be vulnerable than others. People have the proclivity, go in the arts sometimes more, but there's something beautiful about that. Like in the Pulse shooting, which happened in 2016, the acting teacher held a meeting that day to just discuss what happened and help us all process it. And we were in Orlando, and one of the guys sitting behind me said, I won't forget this. He said that his father called him for the first time in months, years. He said, I love you. His father was worried that this guy might have been affected. And he said, and his voice cracked, he said, I haven't heard him say that in years. Well, yeah. That's vulnerability. That's affecting. That's real. That's what resonates with people. That's what makes something I remember 4 years later. It's not sarcasm. It's not quippy or witty or anything. It's truth. That's not what's drawing in his shell. That's not pretending he's okay when he's not. That's not adding to lies and facade. But that's contributing to people realizing that they themselves don't need to be so alone. It's contributing to people opening up themselves. And that was the beauty of acting. You have to be open. It's not like you're working on making a table or a product of some sort. Right? When you're acting, it's you that's there. You're on the forefront. Your vulnerability is what matters. Your energy is what matters. They're there to see you. And you have to deliver the truth of yourself in the guise of a character. Only then does it affect people. So, my friends, please do not suffer in silence. See a therapist if you want, if you need. Speak to people. The world is more loving than we might think, than our defenses let us out to be. Let us think about it. Too many people suffer in silence. You look at them and they might even look okay, although they might subtly be radiating some tension or fear, or not, they might just look okay. People are very good at pretending. And no one's really gonna pry that much. Like, I mind my business, you mind your business. It's all good. We can all help each other a lot. By being there for the other, also by being honest about what's going on inside to the others. Well, first with ourselves. Admitting that there are certain things that are not right, that are going on that are not nice. If we can bring ourselves to speak to other people about it, it's even better. But the very accurate way the universe works is that if you're a closed off person, well, guess how people are going to be around you. They'll just bounce back what you bounce back, what you bounce off. If you're reserved, excessively reserved, closed, people will relate you very superficially. I know. Me personally, I've generally been pretty open in my life, and even still, like it's still, there's still many difficulties and navigating life and navigating the psyche and all these things. I can't imagine how it is for someone who's closed off and hasn't allowed outside help, who hasn't engaged in interchange of all these ideas and stuff. And that closedness is the thing that makes other people's close. They close. And it also, the closed energy, it's not just the fact that you're not benefiting from all the good things from the interchange. It's that the closed energy to begin with is the problem. It's not all the negative things that come out of it. That's further problems. The closed energy right now is the problem. Why are you so closed? Why is that person closed? What are they scared of? Why are they so fearful? Emotionally speaking, I'm not talking about functionally the hi, how are you sort of thing. I'm talking about emotionally speaking. Why are you so closed? Not you, maybe you, but why is someone so closed? But all of us, you, me, we all have aspects and ways in which we can open up more. Every person is carrying some type of load that we can't imagine. And it's so hard to see, but when somebody's excessively negative, excessively crazy, excessively complaining, or whatever it may be, doing things excessively that you don't like, that are obnoxious or whatever, that are clearly unconscious, that are clearly bad. The human response is to reflect that back and like, oh, what are you doing? And being annoyed at it, judging it, despising it, thinking negatively of it, getting annoyed by it, all these things. But that's because we're humans and we're flawed and we have these reactions which we haven't yet transcended. A divine reaction would be to simply understand it and perhaps extend compassion, empathy. But it would be more neutral or more loving, one of the two. And it would see more clearly that this person's suffering. Regardless of how it affects me, this person's suffering. And you feel it. Most importantly, you feel it. It's not knowing it intellectually, though that's a start. It's feeling it. And knowing that at that moment, that's more important than what their suffering is doing to me. This person is truly suffering. Now, I know personally the struggle of happiness, the struggle of finding inner peace, and how difficult it can be. Now, taking me out of it completely, let's say there's a world of people that are suffering, right? So I'm taking me out, so I can't be, it's not going to affect me, it's nothing for me to be annoyed about, whatever, right? You see a world of suffering people. Well, man, there's a lot of suffering. And from a selfless position, all you want to do is help. Because you'd feel it. You'd feel and see what's going on with them. Or you could be neutral and allow them to work through it themselves or give as you want or whatever. But you won't be negative. The neutral position perhaps is more transcendent. Or perhaps a more transcendent spot would be to transcendently help them. Whatever it may be. It's person to person to decide what they want to do. But it's a real suffering, each of these people. And it's only really easy to see when you take yourself out of it. The reactions, the judgments, all of that. And most people suffer in silence, with no escape. And host of defenses lined up, a host of mistrusts that start to confirm themselves. A host of suboptimal life decisions based on that mistrust. A host of dysfunctional relationships that then color their perception of all people. It's incredible, actually, as people get older, like, their sense of self continues to fortify in many cases. By sense of self, I mean false sense of self. I don't mean authentic coming into one's own self. I mean their mentalities begin to crystallize, their prejudices and their assumptions and their reactions to those things. So it's important to, at whatever stage, whatever point in life, to examine these things and rise above. Rise above the story. Rise above that personal storyline. This happened to me. She did this to me. He did this to me. This would happen to me. This was going to happen to me. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. Having no trust in consciousness. Having no trust or faith in the universe. Without realizing that consciousness is in charge of it all. It's not even these individual people that are to blame. They're agents of consciousness. They are consciousness. What matters is your relationship, not with the people, but with life. Life itself, total life, which will then reflect into relationship with the people. How humbly do you approach it? By humbly, I mean more than humble. I mean, how honestly do you approach it? How real is your relationship with life? It's not about being open with other people. It's about being open. And that translates into other people. Or it doesn't. But it's being open with life. What's your relationship with the present? Are you suffering in silence?